Why, hello there, Nice Tale here. I do hope you're having a good day, and I hope you enjoy this review of the Dirty Bird Chingaso. Dirty Bird Knives Chingaso. Dirty Bird Knives is a custom maker out of New Mexico, USA, but this is a production model that they've had made for themselves, and that is made in China. As is typical, I'm sure the margins looked a hell of a lot better, and the price just to make it was a hell of a lot more reasonable out of China. Unfortunately, that is something we have to live with. At least until we actually start saying China can't use, like, what's the word? It's what is it? It's they use developing world status for like shipping to get like free shipping on everything, despite that not quite being the case. It's a whole thing. But let's not get into geopolitics. No, thank you. No. Let's just stick to the knife, and we'll start off with a quick specs. Just under 4 inches to here, but to the actual end of the plunge grind, you get about 4 inches of blade. Exactly 8 3/8 overall. And a bit over 4 3/8 on the handle. So yeah, that measures up if you're measuring to there. So it's like 3.8, 4.25, 4.3-ish kind of thing. In that general territory. I'm going to make a comparison. I don't know if that's really necessary for this. This is a totally different kind of knife, but our resin comparisons are here and they are out, so it's being made. As you can see, this is a bigger knife than both of them, the small or the full-size Elementum. I mean, I wouldn't call this a big fixed blade, but it's a big knife that I do pocket carry, so you could argue that it is a large pocketable knife. And it doesn't fold, of course, so that sticks out of the pocket. But that doesn't really bother me too much. Maybe that's just me. One more comparison to be made, and that is to your grip comparison for the AA batteries. And for the AA batteries, you have just shy of 2 AA batteries for your actual grip size and length and such. That still translates to me getting a comfortable 4-finger grip on this thing. Pretty close, but I can jam in there and get a little bit more up. So yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I know that it might be weird to have an ulti clip and pocket carry this thing, but I don't really like scout carry or anything like that. And I personally don't like most of those pocket EDC fixed blades where you're getting... Yeah, I kind of have 4-finger grip on it, and yeah, I have maybe 3 inches of blade on... It doesn't feel right for a fixed blade. It doesn't feel good. I don't feel like that's what I want. I mean, at that point, an equally thin, arguably probably larger bladed pocket knife that just folds is more ideal, in my opinion. If you're carrying a fixed blade, I want a little bit more. And I don't mind up to this 4 inches in pocket, honestly. I'm sure that's going to sound good. We'll finish up with specs here. Weight is... Can we see that? Why that always causes issue with that? What the heck is it doing? It's 4.87 ounces. That's what it is. Which is pretty decent ratios. I mean, it's not an ounce an inch. You've got 4 inches of blade approximately to almost 5 ounces of weight, but it's not bad, especially for a full tang fixed blade. It's definitely weight reduction in here, and it's pretty light and manipulatable, and yeah, the balance point's like right there. So it feels good. It feels really deft and nimble in the hands. I like that. Thickness. Always with the 5. Yep. You always zero out, too. I don't know. 530 thousandths, 0.5, so a little over half an inch. It's actually pretty close to the Civivi Conspirator in thickness, so it's pretty comparable to some standard pocket knives. It's not that thick in the hand, which is interesting because you oftentimes contour thicker scales for fixed blade and everything. This is making a conscious choice to do that, but when we talk about that a little bit, I'll say why I don't think that's a problem here. 155 thousandths on the blade stock, decently thick there. And this is probably going to be reasonably thin, but I think it's a pretty high edge angle on this thing. Yeah. 13 thousandths is decently thin here. It's quite good, but this is definitely more fixed blade setup. This is more tactical, more outdoorsy sort of style. It is thin. My guess is it's a high edge angle, and it gets decently thick reasonably fast. It's definitely got a lot of strength behind there, and it gets thick quickly enough. That is one of the downsides of typically going slightly larger in the fixed blade realm, I guess you could say, that it oftentimes, unless you're getting those tiny little micro things, it is hard to find sort of an EDC super thin and slicey blade. They are out there at this full size, and I mean, maybe down the road I'll get some on to show off or something like that too. I don't have any personally right now. I have one, but I already did a video on it, the Kaiser Baby, where it's almost, not quite as big as this, but it's got a pretty broad and thin blade. They're out there. However, not everyone needs to be the same. So for more of a standard sort of all-around user that you might be a little bit rougher on, yeah, thicker geometry is fine. I don't mind it here, especially with the more obvious tactical styling of this thing. And the last spec is the T8. T8 screws holding on the scales. They are not captured. They are... You have to take them out from both sides, otherwise they spin. Kind of wish that wasn't the case, but kind of wish it was just sort of like a Chicago screw or something like that. But it is what it is, or some sort of interlocking thing that didn't need that. However, it is what it is, as I said just 2 seconds ago. All right. Now, moving on from the specs to the actual knife itself. Just a quick look at this thing. Got a drop point blade. You got satins all over. Belt satin, horizontal kind of satin. It's kind of on an angle, actually. Kind of looks nice on an angle like that. The whole thing is kind of just satined up. There is a variant of this knife with, there are 3 different colors of micarta. Black, this is black, green, and even though this looks more green at the particular moment, this one hasn't taken a lot of patina, which is interesting. You can kind of see that it's more black there. It hasn't patinaed very quickly. I'll admit that. You can see it starting to creep in, but yeah, it's slow going. 3 types of micarta, 3 colors of micarta, and 2 blade finishes. There is a satin with the bevel here being like a heavy matte gray stone wash, I believe it is, or an acid wash, kind of something bridging there, for a 2-tone blade, or this satined all over. You got a pretty good tip that is quite accessible. The blade steel is CPM 154. CPM 154 is not 154 CM. It is the powder metallurgy version of this, made in this case by CPM is Crucible, which they're having their own issues, but CPM 154 should give sort of just like a better overall functionality than 154 CM, and you don't typically see CPM 154 being nearly as cheap, because I mean, technically this one is CPM, so CPM 154 is USA made Crucible, and yeah, there's more steps. You're not going to typically see the powdered stuff being cheap. This one is meh. We'll talk about the price. There is jimping here that, despite being sort of not my favorite kind of jimping, is very functional. It actually provides a good amount of traction. It is sharp, but still surprisingly comfortable. The swedge up here, despite having this swedge, has a flat that does run along it at the very top, and the edges on this flat are actually pretty sharp. Like, you could probably maybe strike something off this, I don't know. The rest of the knife, however, probably not, as there is a chamfer around all of the exposed tang, which I'll just say right now is, since we're going in there anyway, is kind of what makes this thing good despite the flat, sort of blockier appearance and scales, where you normally, look for comfort and stuff on fixed blades. This is very comfortable, deceivingly so. The chamfers sort of almost meeting up with the scales, the very rounded edge or softened edges on these arguably hard transitions of these flat scales make for surprisingly comfortable knife. More so than it appears, probably. So even though it's not your rounded, super contoured thing, it is like pretty darn ultra comfortable, which I'll give them credit. That's a well designed element. There's some texture, and I guess it provides grip, and maybe something more grip in the in gloved hands. But there's a little bit of styling on the scales. There's a lanyard hole in the back. You've got the Dirty Bird logo right there. Pretty much clean, other than the steel other marking there. You do have a guard, as this is again more of a tactical kind of thing. The plunge grind, yeah, the plunge grind could be better. On camera, it looks like the plunge grind's ending almost here. In person, yeah, maybe it's okay. It looks like it might taper down, but that might just be the way the actual steel moves down. I don't know. It's back here. It's giving you a little bit of life, but it's a fixed blade. You can always extend this jaw. You can do whatever you want there. The sheath that comes with it is Kydex. I've added the ulti-clip for the pocket carry, but this, of course, does not come with it. How to get a carrying clip. It didn't come, I don't think, with a mount for carry. So that's something you're going to have to get here. The actual Kydex sheath is really well done. There is no shake. It is a very solid snap. You've got a nice controlled ramp here with a nice push-off point and snap. Gets in there. I just sort of reach in, pop it out, go. The edge, it's still got an good edge to it, but it has lost some of its bite and sharpness over. Like, it wasn't the most aggressive thing coming out of the box either, so I don't know how much it's lost, but it definitely needs a touch-up. However, it's not too bad. It still cuts, no doubt about that. Like I said, the edge is actually, I guess because of thickness and stuff like that, is holding up decently. But it's just not, like, I don't mind touching the edge, is basically what I'm trying to say. Now, two things one thing more before I get into the final thing, and that one thing I want to talk about is something that's a little odd. You can kind of see it. I don't think that's rust or anything. It's just, there's these on right there. See them. And there's some on the other side, though they seem to be disappearing at the moment. Yeah, right there. It's got like this splotch on the knife, and it goes down into the bevel here. It's just hard to see. They came on the knife. I don't think they're rust. They don't seem to be rust. They just seem to be like an inconsistency in the finish. I don't think it's hurting anything, just something worth mentioning. The final thing that I wanted to mention is the price point. Now, these were $200. For CPM 154, that's pushing it maybe a tiny bit, but it's also not completely out of the range of reasonable for the amount of steel and what you're getting here. However, I will say that I have noticed that these are reasonably often on sale. I got this actual knife for $99. And that's what really made me pull the trigger on this, because I saw that it was like 50% off. Oftentimes the sales are in the range of like 130-ish. But it was I think it was a holiday or something like that. And it was a pretty big sale, and these ones do go on sale. I don't know if they didn't sell well. I don't know how long they've been around. But when I saw it a while back, I thought that was pretty reasonable, especially for what you're getting here. So if you can find it on sale, it's definitely more reasonable. At $200, it's okay. But it's actually quite a nice knife. I like the look of it. I like the execution. I was concerned about the feel in hand. It's much better than you might think. Even without the, round, thick handle. And because it's, got a slightly lower profile and less handle, it does make it easier to pocket carry as well at this size. Overall, it's a good knife. And I don't really have too many complaints here. I haven't actually sharpened it, so maybe I'll update once I do that, because like I said, it needs a touch-up, but so far it still cuts, despite not having the most aggressive of edges on there anymore. So, I don't know. I like it. I like the style. I like the overall. Consider checking it out. Maybe I'll have a link down in the description or something like that if I can find something. And that's everything for me. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Consider liking and subscribing. Greatly appreciate any of that. I've just the other day got a couple subscribers out of nowhere that I thought the channel was pretty much dead, because, I mean, I don't get a lot of views. Let's be honest, but I hadn't gotten any subscribers or anything really going on for quite a while, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, little spurt here. You're not quite dead yet. Who knows? I don't. Oh, and the final thing to notice is that the Kydex is a folded over taco style instead of two pieces, which helps it be a little bit thinner. And again, more carryable and take up less room. That's always nice. So I'm going to end things here. Thanks for watching. See you later. This took way longer than it should. I got to work on that. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Who knows? I'm just doing what I feel like, and that's fine here. See ya.